Imagine waking up and knowing that today, someone in your group might not survive until sunset. Not because of a war, not because of an animal attack, just because it's Tuesday and it's winter. That was reality for most of human history. No heaters, no supermarkets, no emergency numbers to call, just you, your people, and a season that had one single goal: to kill you before spring arrived. And yet somehow, we're all here. Which means somewhere back in the frozen dark, your ancestors figured out how to cheat death, winter after winter, for hundreds of thousands of years. Some of the methods they used were brilliant, some were brutal, and a few of them are honestly disturbing to think about today. So let's go back, into the cold, into the dark, and look at exactly how ancient humans clawed their way through the deadliest season on Earth. Here's something most people never think about. Humans are, biologically speaking, a warm weather species. We evolved under the African sun. No thick fur, no blubber, no built-in defense against freezing temperatures. Drop a naked human into sub-zero conditions, and the body starts failing within hours. Hands stop working first, then thinking gets foggy. Then the body starts shutting down organs to protect the core. A slow, quiet death that doctors today still call one of the most peaceful ways to die, which is a strange kind of horrifying. So when early humans pushed north into Ice Age Europe, into Siberia, into some of the most punishing climates on the planet, they were doing something their own bodies were never designed for. They didn't out-tough winter. They out-thought it. The first real weapon against the cold wasn't fire. It was something far more intimate, wearing the skin of another creature as if it were your own. Early humans didn't just drape a hide over their shoulders and hope for the best. That barely worked. Wind cuts straight through a loose pelt, and it slides off the moment you move. The real breakthrough came when someone figured out how to cut hide into shapes, sew the pieces together, and seal a layer of warm air directly against human skin. That single idea, fitted, sewn clothing, is arguably one of the most important inventions our species ever produced. But making it required tools that shouldn't have existed yet. A needle carved from bone, ground down by hand until it was thin enough to pass through hide, with a hole small enough for thread. Archaeologists have found needles like this that are over 40,000 years old, and the thread itself came from sinew. The tendons of dead animals, pulled, dried, and turned into cords strong enough to hold a life together, quite literally. Without that needle, there is no surviving Siberia. There is no crossing into Ice Age Europe. Humanity simply stops at the edge of the cold. Once your body is covered, you need somewhere to hide from the night, and in most of the world, that somewhere had to be built from scratch, because good caves were rare, and everyone wanted them. At a site in modern-day Ukraine called Mezhyrich, archaeologists uncovered something that sounds almost mythological. Dwellings built roughly 15,000 years ago, constructed almost entirely from the bones of mammoths. Dozens of them. Skulls stacked like bricks. Tusks arched over doorways like something out of a nightmare cathedral. There was no wood, no stone, so people used the only material the land gave them, the remains of the largest animals they had killed. And every gap between those bones was an opening for the wind to come through and kill you slowly in your sleep. So they packed the walls with turf, stretched hides across them. Some groups even piled snow against the outside, because trapped air inside snow actually insulates a structure incredibly well. A shelter wasn't just walls back then. It was a life support system, built one desperate layer at a time. Cold kills fast, hunger kills slow, and that made it far more dangerous. Winter doesn't just bring low temperatures, it shuts the entire food system off. Plants die back, roots freeze into the ground like stone. Animals vanish, hide, or starve themselves thin. The earth, quite simply, stops feeding you. So ancient humans had to solve a brutal equation months in advance, gather enough in the warm season to keep an entire group alive through months when almost nothing new would arrive. Their answer was preservation, and they were remarkably good at it. Meat was sliced thin and dried in sun or smoke until the moisture and the rot had nowhere left to grow. Some groups dug pits straight into the permafrost, using the frozen ground itself as a natural freezer to keep meat edible for months. And the real prize wasn't meat at all. It was fat. When your body is burning enormous energy just to stay warm, lean meat isn't enough. Fat was calories in their densest, most concentrated form, rendered down and stored like fuel for a machine that couldn't afford to stop running. In a bad year, the difference between a group that saw spring and one that didn't often came down to how much fat they'd managed to store away months earlier. Here's the part almost nobody talks about, because it doesn't leave a mark on the body. It leaves a mark on the mind. The further north you went, the longer the nights stretched. In the depths of winter, some groups faced 15, 16 hours of darkness a day. No hunting, no traveling. Just the same small group of people, trapped together in a small space, night after night, for months. That kind of isolation could break a person in ways cold and hunger never did. So people filled the dark instead of surrendering to it. Tools got repaired by firelight, clothing got mended, and around that fire something else happened. Stories got told, the same ones over and over, carrying knowledge from the old to the young. Researchers studying hunter-gatherer groups have found that after dark, conversation shifts almost entirely away from practical talk and toward myth, song, and shared memory. That fire wasn't just heat. It was where human culture itself was quietly being built, one long, dark night at a time. Put it all together, and something strange comes into focus. Winter didn't just try to kill our ancestors, it made them. The cold forced the invention of clothing. The scarcity of shelter forced the invention of architecture. The hunger forced the invention of food storage, and the darkness forced the invention of culture itself. Every single winter was a test, and it wasn't a test everyone passed. Survival wasn't guaranteed. It was earned every single year through skill, preparation, and sheer stubbornness. So the next time you turn a dial on your wall and the room just warms up, remember what that small piece of comfort cost to invent. 100,000 years of humans freezing, starving, and huddling together in the dark, slowly figuring out how to beat a season that was built to end them. You don't fight winter anymore. They did it for you.